This is the Marketing for Learning podcast, the only podcast in the world committed to enabling and empowering the capabilities of L&D through marketing. It's quite possibly the best podcast you'll ever listen to today.
Hello, and welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. I'm here to talk to you today about the skills required to make a marketer great, and whether those skills and the skill of marketing in itself is a human skill or not. This podcast has been entirely inspired by an event I attended a couple of weeks ago with the LPI. At the LPI's latest Learning Live networks, they had Fred Hallmark, I hope I've said his name right there, from LinkedIn Learning, talking about the skills that the workplace needs in 2023. It was from data from their workplace learning report, which I'd already read and found very interesting. But Fred then pulled up a slide that had the top 10 skills that businesses in the UK need right now. And those skills were management, communication, customer service, sales, leadership, project management, research, teamwork, strategy, and marketing. So it's quite a broad range there. Fred then highlighted 4 of those skills. So he put management, communication, leadership, and teamwork in bold and defined them as human skills, which just got my spidey senses going, as I'm sure you can imagine. I had a little devil inside me wanting to scream, but marketing's a human skill too. And although I completely understand where Fred was coming from, and this is no slight to anything Fred said, I was inspired to talk about the importance of human skills in marketing and in marketing for learning. So I'm not here bashing anything he said. I don't disagree that marketing isn't entirely a human skill. But this one-woman debate has been inspired by the event and the workplace learning report. So I thought I'd make that absolutely crystal clear to start. So before we get started, let's actually clarify what we mean by human skills. Human skills are non-technical skills that you aren't necessarily taught in traditional education. So teamwork, creative thinking, mindfulness, self-awareness, innovation, creativity, those kind of things. Yes, they are absolutely taught in corporate learning functions, but they aren't taught in our curriculum as we're growing up. We used to call them soft and hard skills, but soft skills undermine what these skills really are. Some people call them power skills, and I think that's an absolutely great description as well. But I really like human skills because they are the skills that are innate. They're things that are just inside us, and also they make us relate to other humans on a much better level. So now we've got the understanding of what a human skill is, you're probably thinking hand marketing is definitely not a human skill. So let me get started on my one-woman debate. So I'll start where you all probably are right now. I'll start with the reasons why marketing isn't a human skill. There is so much that goes into marketing that cannot be overlooked. And these are hard skills. They are things that people graft and learn for years upon years. And with a decade of experience, I'm still honing my craft in marketing. So these skills are things like technology. If I sat most of you in front of a really simple marketing tech stack, the chances are you wouldn't know what to do with it. You wouldn't know how to use it. You might get adverts or automated emails and things like that day in, day out in your day-to-day lives. But that doesn't mean you know how to create them. You don't know the tech that goes in them. You don't know how to play with the algorithms to make sure it's working in the best possible way. There is a lot of tech and a lot of skill behind marketing tech that marketers have to know if they want to be good at their job. And the second technical skill that marketers need, and you can't really do marketing without, is understanding the power and nuances of copywriting. Almost everybody can write. If you're listening to this, I'm sure you can write an email to your colleague after this podcast saying, listen to this podcast, it was great. But marketers have an ability to be able to tell stories, to grab attention, to craft content in such a way that it makes people stop in their tracks, or it makes people move. It gets people doing the thing that marketers want them to do. And that isn't something that just comes naturally. That is something that is taught, it's honed, it's crafted, it's built upon year after year after year. And I think putting that in the human skills bucket, or the soft skills bucket, if we use the old terminology, is just a little bit undermining to how powerful and how much of a skill it really, really is. Marketers also need to really understand data to do their job properly. There is absolutely no point in marketing anything if you're not going to look at the data for it. If you have spent months crafting a campaign and you're going to run it for 6 months and you're never going to look at the data, you're never going to look at the analytics, you're never going to work out if it's working, well, then the chances are it probably won't work. And if it does, it was just because it was a lucky gamble. Marketers have to have this skill of understanding what the data is telling us and being data-driven rather than data-led. We're not just going to jump in and do something because we had one fluke email that everybody opened and everybody clicked through. That doesn't mean email is the golden star of our marketing function. We look at what was different in that email. We look at what made it the gold star, and then we try to integrate that in everything else we do. And having those data skills is so, so important that it cannot be overlooked when considering what skills a really great marketer needs. And the last skill I'm going to talk about that I don't think is a human skill, but I think is hugely necessary to be good at marketing, is strategy. We talk about strategy a lot with our clients, and often people think, oh, I'm not mature enough to have a marketing strategy for my L&D function yet. And actually, I've heard a lot of organizations say the same thing. We don't need a strategy. We just need somebody to do the marketing. Doing marketing without a strategy is honestly just as much of a gamble as never checking the data. You need to have a strategy. You need to have a game plan. You need to have a process behind what you're doing to make it work. If you decided you wanted to do marketing for learning today and you only wanted to put up banner ads on your intranet, you might invest hours upon hours of crafting those banner ads and making them look really incredible for nobody to see them. Because without the strategy, you might not have realized that actually people never go to your intranet. And that's a really appalling place. Without considering your learner's decision-making journey, you might be hitting them with the wrong message at the complete wrong time, and therefore it's not resonating. Strategy is too important in marketing to overlook and assume that it's not needed. So with all of these hard skills that clearly marketers need to be successful, how on earth am I recording this podcast and saying, actually, there's a lot of human in marketing too? So let's get on to that, shall we? All right, so first and foremost, none of the skills I have already mentioned in this podcast have anything to do with the most important part of marketing. If you've ever listened to any of the Marketing for Learning podcasts, if you've ever listened to any of our public speaking events, if you've ever read any of our blog posts, LinkedIn posts, or anything else, you will know the answer to this. The most important thing in marketing is your target audience. Without them, you don't have an offering, for starters. But without them, and without putting them first, your marketing is never going to hit the right note. At its core, marketing is about building relationships, and that in itself is a human skill. You need to understand the pain points, challenges, wants, needs, fears of your target audience if you're ever going to get their butts moving, if you're ever going to get them doing what you want them to do. And you need to make sure that your product aligns to those wants, needs, fears, pain points, objectives, goals, challenges. How are you helping them overcome that or achieve that goal? Without having this deep empathy and understanding of your audience, you're not going to get very far with any of those hard marketing skills I've already mentioned. And I just want to talk a bit more about empathy, because I think that's the one skill that all of the best marketers have in abundance. Being empathetic and understanding the position your target audience is in at a particular moment in time is so important for getting marketing right. Putting yourself in their shoes, walking through the journey with them, communicating to them in a way that's going to resonate with them, all comes back to empathy. And if empathy isn't a human skill, I don't know what is. The second human skill that you can't be a marketer without is impeccable communication skills. So many marketers are called communication specialists, communications managers, communications this, that, and the other. Communication is fundamental to marketing. You can't market without communicating. They just go hand in hand. But having that ability to communicate with so many different people in so many different ways, it is a human skill. It is something that is inside us. It's a soft skill, you might say. Those best marketers know how to communicate with empathy, compassion, excitement, the right emotion and the right vibe for that moment in time. So without communication skills, you're not going to get very far, even if you know your marketing tech platforms inside out and back to front. If you don't know how to communicate, there's no point in having the tech. And the last human skill I want to talk about today that is so, so important in marketing is creative thinking. Creativity is the backbone of the marketing industry, but it's not just about coming out with really catchy adverts or witty slogans or anything like that. It's also about creative thinking, coming at problems from a different angle, thinking outside of the box, trying to find new solutions to age-old problems. You could almost say it's Ashley's creative thinking that is why I'm sat here talking to you today, because we are coming at the age-old learner engagement problem from a different angle. We're coming at it from a marketing lens, and it's making an impact. Those kind of innovative ideas don't just come from nowhere. They come from the mind of someone who's truly got a creative mindset and thinks creatively. And all of the best marketers are creative thinkers. I stand by that. There's no data behind it, but I believe it's true. It is my honest opinion that without these human skills, marketers would just be going through the process. There'd be gambling, there'd be just throwing stuff out there and hoping something sticks. Churning out content that their people don't want to see, that isn't making an impact on their organization or their team or the bottom line. Honestly, marketing without human skills just feels really, really pointless to me. Using every single tech feature under the sun will not work without those human skills of creative thinking, empathy, compassion, communication. Having the best and most expensive tech stack is not going to solve your problem. It's the human skills behind it that will. But if I'm being realistic, I suppose the two go hand in hand, don't they? You can't have all of these human skills without the hard skills of marketing and call yourself a marketer. In fact, I'd say if you think about it, psychotherapists or like personal trainers probably have phenomenal communication skills. They have huge amount of empathy, and they're probably quite creative in getting their clients moving. That doesn't make them a marketer. What makes us marketers is the skills that we've honed and crafted over the years. So I think the conclusion of my one-woman debate comes down to the fact you need both. But what I really want to convey in this podcast is you absolutely will not get the impact you want from your marketing efforts without the human skills. So they shouldn't be overlooked. So what does this mean for L&Ders wanting to adopt marketing into their functions and into like adopting a marketing mindset? Truthfully, I think, and I do genuinely believe this, a lot of L&Ders already have these human skills. You absolutely have empathy if you work in L&D or HR or any of the related functions. We often get into this field because we want to help other people. So we already have that skill, but I think it needs to be unlocked. And I think we need to make sure that we are using our empathy through everything we do. When you're designing your learning experiences, are you putting yourself in the learner's shoes? Are you imagining how they feel at each stage? Are you being empathetic with their situation? Is that empathy coming through in your marketing and your communications? Or are your marketing and communications being led by a business mandate or what a C-suite want you to do? Are you pushing out more business objectives without any clarity about how or what's in it for your end user? Are we approaching the challenges we face in L&D and the communication challenges we face in L&D from a creative standpoint? Or are you just going, oh, I'll just send out an email to let everyone know about this new program we're doing? Are you putting time, effort, and care into your marketing communications? Or are they just an afterthought? I know every L&Dir I've ever met has these skills already, but it's time they were unlocked. If you want to make marketing for learning work in your organization, think about the human skills you already have and how you can apply them in everything you do, particularly when you're marketing your learning interventions. I truly believe that this is the solution to overcoming the learner engagement problem. And it's the human skills that L&D need to unlock to change the way they're thinking and then adopt the hard marketing skills needed to truly and effectively market your learning and development offering. So thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I really hope you found that useful. And I hope it's got you thinking about the skills you already have that make you a good marketer and how you can unlock them. I've said unlock too many times in this podcast, but unleash them to make your learning work better for you and to overcome the learner engagement problem once and for all. We will be back very, very soon with another podcast for your ear rolls. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or you want to discuss this matter at all, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love talking to you all. And if not, I'll catch you on the next one, guys.